I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
Welcome to today's episode of What's Under the Hood. Today's guest is Sente Sentjens, who has already quite the palmarès. He won Kuurne solo at what was his first race as a junior at an age of only 16 years and 6 months. This year he won E3 with a crazy power file, 400 normalized power for the last 2 hours, and he was still able to put out 1,232 watts for 18 seconds to win the sprint with a very big margin. He also scored a top 10 in the Luik-Bastenaken-Luik this year, while not being a climber, and he also won 3 time trials this year. Welcome, Sente Sentjens.
Thank you.
It's been quite a year for you. Also, already having scored a pro contract with Alpecin. How can you describe that? That has to be amazing.
Yeah, it's indeed very amazing because it was already quite early in the past season as first year junior that they showed a lot of interest, and we immediately talked with each other, and I had a great feeling with what they told me about the plan they had with me. And then in the winter, I went on a training camp with the team, and after that I was convinced immediately. Yeah.
Okay, well, because you also had the interest, if my sources are correct, from Quickstep. So that's
Yeah,
not
indeed.
that's also a big team in the running.
Yeah. But yeah, the offers were quite different, and I didn't need to hesitate a lot about it. So my decision was made very quick.
Yeah, I can understand that. And you're also going to combine it with studies, I think.
Yeah, I am going to try to combine it as good as possible. And yeah, first year next year, I will try it in the Devo team, and after that, I'm going to go to the the World Tour team. So that will be maybe a little bit more difficult, but if you see, there are also a lot of other pros that are still combining it. So I think that it's possible.
Yeah, if you see one of the big examples is Alex Segert, I think, and he's not doing too bad. So
No,
it's possible.
indeed. Yeah.
How do you describe your time with Akro? Because you won quite some races with them, so has to be a good environment.
Yeah. It was a very learnful and fun time on and off the bike because I had an international program from the second year under 17 category until now, and I also had a very nice group through the years. It was a group of close friends, and that's also very important. And yeah, it's a Belgium team, so I enjoyed my time.
That's good. It's good to hear. On to your power data, if that's okay. I asked for your numbers yesterday, and I almost fell off my chair. Like, I already knew you had a good sprint from following you on Strava, but also the numbers over longer duration, like 910 watts for a minute, but also your 10 minutes power, like 450 watts. That are
Yeah.
numbers that's, not even all pros can show those numbers.
No, I don't think so, but I'm also pretty heavy. That's on the flat. It's not. Yeah, it's. How do I say it?
less important than on hills.
But on the hills, it's not that easy for me because I need to push a lot of watts more than the smaller guys that are that have a lot less weight to carry uphill.
But you still finished top 10 in Luik-Bastenaken-Luik this year. That says a lot about the power in your legs.
Yeah, but of course, cycling is also about tactics, and that also goes better and better. So if I can do races like that with a good tactic, like go in the break early, and then I can survive the first climbs like that, I can save some power and do it on my own pace. And like that, I can still take the last climbs with the best climbers. So that's also one of my good points.
Okay. And to your short power data, maybe like 5 seconds on a little over 1,700 watts. That are numbers with which you can win mass sprints in the pro field.
Yeah, but before this sprint, it's also very hectic, and I think in the pro peloton, the sprint, most of the time, the sprint is already ridden in the first of the two last keys before the actual sprint, and I think that's the most heavy part of the mass sprints in the pro peloton. I don't always get these watts, but when I'm well rested, it's possible. After a hard race, it's also very difficult, but it's still pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, like after E3, which was a very, very heavy race. Yeah, 400 normalized power for the last 2 hours. That's a lot. And you still, your max power was a little over 1,500 watts. Like I don't do that fresh. Oh.
No, if it's a hard race, most of the time I still have a good punch in my legs, and I think that's also one of my strongest points, that I'm able to handle the hard races, and there are other sprinters that have it more difficult with the toughness of the race, but I can handle it pretty good. And most of the time, I'm one of the fastest guys left in the front group, so that's good for me.
But you don't only have a sprint, you also won 3 time trials this year. So that's something that says a lot of you can do that in juniors. That you have very big engine, obviously.
Yeah, I think that it's good that in the junior category that you can ride good time trials, especially the short ones, because the type of rider that I am is like the more explosive sprinter type, and for the classics, so these short time trials, it's very easy to do them because I have the abilities to do it. The longer time trials was more difficult before, but I've trained on it more the last couple of weeks for the World Championships, and I think that if we look forward to the next years, it's also good because, like I already said, the sprints in the pro peloton, you need to have a lot of power in the kilometers before the actual sprint, so it's a good thing to have good legs in the short time trials also.
Yeah, because you already made the link with the World Championship time trial. It's a pretty long course for for juniors, I think, and it's also it doesn't look that hard if you look at the altitude meters, but it's a pretty tough course.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. The first 8 to 10 kilometers, it's the same road, always straight, and after that you have a small climb, but yeah, it's not nothing special. Then you go back to the same road you did first 10 kilometers, and then you don't ride, I think, 1K on that same road. Then you go back right, again, a small climb, but nothing very special. Then you ride in the town, and after that it's I think the last K, small piece uphill, but not too heavy, and then it's I think like 100 meters or 200 meters, a little bit downhill, and then you go back uphill straight to the finish line. But there are also some cobblestones on the last uphill, so I think that that will be also very tough. But if I can do the watts on my pacing plan, I think that I'm able to set a good time on this time trail.
Yeah, it's like because you are such a punchy guy, there are some punchy hills that does suit you. Like it's not too much climbing for somebody of your posture.
No, I already did some time trails like this year in the Tour of Gironde and Morbihan also. It was also like small climbs, up, down, up, down. So I'm pretty good in changing the watts on the uphill, downhill. So that's not a problem for me. But it will be a new experience to do a 23 kilometer time trail like this with the last climb to the finish.
What's your objective in this race? Like, with what results are you happy?
Yeah, when I start a race, it's also it's always to win, but yeah, it will depend on the form of the day, and I will do everything to be 110% on that day. But if I could wish, I would say first place, of course.
Yeah, I think you have a good shot at it, to be honest. So pretty curious to see where you'll end up. And the road race, interesting team of Belgium. What do you think of the selection?
I think that we have a very strong team. I can say that our 5 classic riders. Jarno is more Jarno Vidar is more like all rounder these days. He can climb well, short climbs, longer climbs, a bit like everything. And we have a plan. We also know all what we need to do. So I hope that everything will go perfect on the day of the road race, and that we can make the plan reality.
Like, you can go for the sprints, but you can also go solo. You have already showed that sometimes. Like, can you tell us a bit more? How will you race that day?
I'm not the first man for the road race, not the leader, but I have more free role for road race. I think that if there will be a sprint, it will probably not be with a big group. But if I'm still in front of the race in that group, I think that my chances are pretty high. But in first place, I think that it's possible that there are some guys that are going to try to go solo on the last climb, because after that it's not that far anymore, and it's very technical, the course. So I think that there will be a lot of attacks in the last round.
Because like I think the World Championships course is pretty underrated by a lot of people. If I see who they think is going to win, the altitude meters are. If they look at the altitude meters and they think, "Wow, ça va," but like all the corners, as you say, a friend of mine calculated it. Each 300 meters, there's a corner. That makes the race so hard.
Yeah, I think that from the beginning, when the neutralization is done, I think that it will be hard from kilometer 0 and the corners. It will be very difficult to be in front the whole time, but I think that will be important to get a good result, because it will be very hectic, a lot of corners, probably it will be rainy and wet, so crashes are also possible that that will happen. So yeah, it's important to focus from the start. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit different with the pros. Like in the pro world championships, some of the countries who don't have a big leader, they go in attack, and it's pretty easy. Like the first 150 kilometers normally, but yeah, in juniors it's always I don't need to cut the power files of juniors because it's full gas all day.
Yeah, it's like I said from the beginning, it's full gas and until the finish line.
Last year you already rode the worlds in Wollongong as a first year. How did that day go? What did you learn from it?
That like I said, when the flag goes down, they begin to sprint to get in the break, and for me personally, the course was a little bit too heavy. The climb was a little bit too steep because I have a lot of weight to carry uphill, and there were too much steep parts for me on that climb. I was able to finish, but I was not really happy with my race. I wanted to be in front that day, but from the beginning I was more at the back than in front.
You're also a rider who can handle both hot and cold and rainy weather well, I think.
The cold weather, I prefer the cold weather because my body is my body can handle more the cold than the warm. I think when the temperature is to the 30 degrees, I have it already pretty difficult because I sweat a lot and I lose pretty much salt in the warm. So when it's like I said, 30 degrees or higher, I get cramps easily. So I think that in Glasgow it will be more my weather, like I always say. The rainy, a little bit colder weather, so that will be good for me.
Yeah, that's perfect. And because I think there's a lot bigger chance that it's going to rain versus that it's going to be hot and dry. So, what's your top three prediction for both the road race and the time trial?
For the road race, if the plan goes like we planned, then Jarno is going to be the first, and we are going to try to. He's going to try to do it with a solo in the perfect scenario. If I'm still in front in the chasing group, and there it will be a sprint, I hope to get the second place. And if there are some other pretty fast guys, but not real sprinters, I think that the guy on the third place will be Mathilde Grisel, because he's also a pretty good climber and has a really good sprint after a hard race. For the junior time trial, I would place on a perfect day. I would say I'm able to become the champion, but then everything's perfect. And yeah, before the race, you need to expect the good things to happen. So I think myself on the first place. Another very strong guy, Jürgen Nordhagen. He already signed a contract with Jumbo-Visma, and he also had a pretty impressive season so far. So he will be one of the top competitors on the road race and time trial. And on the third place, I was looking on the start list and the results, but I think that Oscar Chamberlain, the Australian guy, can be closer to podium, because like we said before, it's not that much climbing, and he's good on the flat time trials, and he also has a good punch. So I think that if he has a good day, that he is also able to come close to the title. Yeah.
Interesting predictions. Onto the U23 Road Worlds then. There is always a case of the real under 23 riders, but you also have the guys who are basically already pros, like you have Costio, Laurence. So Segard is also already World Tour. Like we also have a very strong Belgian selection. What do you expect from that race?
I think that if it's it will probably also be a hard race, but someone like Thibaut Nys is, in my opinion, one of the favorites, I think, because he can climb good, especially the short climbs like we have on the course that we do. And if it's a sprint, he already proved that he's very fast in the sprints with Arnaud Delis last week. He also already was second behind him, and I think that he is one of the guys that's favorite for the under 23 road race.
Yeah, I agree, because he's very, very light, not even 70 kilos, I think. But he still has a very fast sprint on the flat, as you said. And in the Tour of Hungary in end of May, I think, he even finished second on quite a long climb at the end in a very good field. So he's almost every course, if it's not a mountain race, suits him. And then they also have Alex Segard, who is going to like last year, going to make a time trial out of the road race too. So very interesting. But like a guy, what do you think of guys like Laurence, basically guys who are already World Tour riding the U23 Worlds.
Yeah, they will be in front, especially in the final, I think. But for a guy like Axel Laurence, I think the climbs are not long enough because he is more the guy for the mid-long climbs, longer climbs, not a short punch maybe. I don't know it good, but that's my opinion. Further, I think that Darren Rafferty is also busy on a pretty good season, and last week he won also a GC, I think, if I'm good. I think that his form will be very good, and that he will also be one of the favorites there. From the first year under 23 riders, there are some guys I raced past year, and I think that they will also be pretty strong, like Antonio Morgado, Jan Christen. He already won in the Giro this year, and so I think that they will be also very good.
I also think, especially Morgado, like he had no trouble with making the step up to the U23, and this is like a perfect course for him. Like he's like a bit like Alaphilippe. He looks like him. He also rides like him. Like he can explode 50 times in a race on each hill. Like he's like a spring plank.
Yeah, that's a good describe.
Last year he was the strongest, I think. He didn't win, but he was the strongest in the race, I think you can call him.
Yeah. Through the season he was also one of the best, I think. He always made it difficult for me when I raced with him. I think I didn't. No, I was in Spain last year. I was 2 times second behind him on the Vuelta a Biscaya, and that was one of the stage races I wanted to beat him, but that I didn't. I wasn't able to beat him, unfortunately.
But like competing with a rider like that while you were a year younger, and now you see him doing good in the U23 ranks, that has to give some confidence for you too.
Yes, indeed. If I look to this season and past season, I can say that like the year before, there were more like the type of riders like me, the more classic types, and I think that this year a lot of climbers are the best juniors, as you can see, like Nordhagen, the American August Andrew is also a good climber. These are the second year, but also the first year you have in France Paul Sexas. He's also doing very well last weeks. And in Belgium you have Jasper Schoofs, Alas de Bok, also good climbers. So that makes it more difficult in some races for me. But yeah, it's 2 totally different seasons for me, if I look back on it.
That's an interesting insight. I didn't look at it that way yet. Maybe a prediction for the U23 road race, not for the TT yet, because we didn't talk about that yet.
That's difficult.
Yeah, I think so too. Like it's for a lot of guys, you also don't know how the form is. So it's the
No.
toughest one to predict.
Yeah. I did think about it, but it's difficult. Also, like you have Noah Isidore. I don't know if you know him, but he's also pretty fast, and he can also climb very good. So yeah, it will depend on the scenario of the race, if it's a sprint or not. But yeah, what do you think? Maybe, because I don't really know it.
I have a feeling that Costio, that's like a guy who, like I think last year in Wallonie, he did a very long solo. He didn't win, but he was solo for a long time, and the group behind him barely came closer. So I think he's going to win solo. Nijs second from a group sprint, and Menno Hazing third also from that group sprint.
Yeah, that's pretty good prediction, I think. Yeah.
Onto the. You also want to make a prediction, or onto the time trial?
To the time trial.
Okay. That's for the U23. It's a 36-kilometer course. It looks a lot like time trial you have to do, but just a bit longer. And it's also. Sorry, what did you want to say?
Yeah, it looks a lot like our course, because they do the first part the same, and then I think they go a little small part that they do different, but the rest is the same, I think. If I look
you're well prepared for the first time trial. It seems that's also very important. Like, I don't think a lot of juniors could talk me through the parkour like you do now. So that's a good point.
Yeah, I watched it on video last week, because we had a small training camp with the Belgium team, and Carlo Bomans and the mechanic were already. They already went to Glasgow last month, and then they filmed the course, so I can already look to it on my computer and memorize it. So that's very easy for me.
That's very good. Yeah, it's a very interesting field. I think the U23 time trial. I think it's a stronger field than the road race. Like, you have Vervenne, Segaard, but also Wang. He didn't show like his amazing form he showed in 2021 yet with the U23 guys, but it's also not a guy you can forget. Like, there are a lot of. It's even tougher to predict than the road race, I think.
Yeah, I agree with what you say, but I think that Alex Segaard will be very, very good on time trial. He always prepares himself very good on this day, and I think that he will be very close this year to the first place.
And I think also a lot of guys are happy that Joshua Tarling is going to the elites, because like he's a beast. Like, you raced with him last year, obviously. So maybe you can also tell a bit about what rider he is, like how good he is.
Yeah, he is really specialized in the time trials, but also in the race. He is a rider who can be in front and just ride the whole peloton in pieces just by pacing in front. Yeah, I heard that he had also very impressive watts on his 10 minutes, and I think that there are a lot of pro riders that are also impressed by that. And as you see, the time trial that he did in Wallonie last week, he's only I think 7 or 8 seconds behind Ghana, and I think that says already a lot as a 19-year-old guy.
And he doesn't even have like Ghana as a 3D printed bike perfectly with him with custom extensions, everything. Ghana is just on the normal bike for Meneers, but that's a big difference. Like if he had the same equipment as Ghana, he for sure would have beaten. That's more than 8 seconds.
Yeah, and in time trials, the equipment is very important. These days, it's very much it depends on the details, and you can only improve on that. So that's still good for the future. I think that he can still make these improvements step by step, and then we will see where it ends.
Okay. So for the U23, you think Segard is going to win? Do you also have a prediction for who's going to be the closest, or?
I have the start list with me. I think that the two Belgians will be on the podium because if you see, they are very strong, but I don't really know what position that I can place Favana, second, third, maybe. But I also think that from the United States, you have Vigo Moore. I raced with him last year, and he did a lot of track this year. But from what I already have seen, he is also preparing very well for the time trial. So I think that he will be also in top 10, of course. But for the third guy on the podium, I don't really know who I can put. Maybe if, like you said, Gustav Wang is good, but I don't really know if he's possible to do that because I don't really know or he did show that he is good enough to do it.
Yeah, I think Wang is like a guy like Tarling. He's so strong in time trials, but it's like you are strong in time trials and you are punchy, but they can push big watts for a long time, but not for a short time. So you can't really show him that well in the U23 ranks because like the time trial is about the only thing he can do a bit.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Okay. So I think also that Segert is going to win and Verven also top 3 because he's not talked about that much with these. Because there is a bit there are so many good time trialists in Belgium at the moment, so he doesn't get the spotlight. Like if he was doing now 5 years ago, he would be blowing up in the media. So I also think he's going to top 3, second place even, I think, and then Gustav Wang in third.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
That was everything, I think. Thanks a lot for all the interesting insights, and of course, lots of good luck in Glasgow.
Thank you.
I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.